Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King S.2 hollering at you one more again. Woo! All right. Yes, indeed. Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. All right, folks. Well, another magnificent day. Woo! We are like, man, a good way to describe. We are surging indeed, but I'm looking for something a little more. We are just catapulted forward, right? In paradigm shift. True indeed. Sister Carrie, my salute to you. My girl, thank you, baby. In here with me yet again, promptly catching the synchronicity at 5:55. True indeed, true indeed. All right. Man, I'm allowed just a couple of seconds, right? For folks to come in, maybe a minute or two even. And during that time, I'm gonna go ahead and play a little something from the new album, right? Something that is appropriate, apropos, as we say. You dig? And this is a song called Worldwide Movement, right? True indeed. Let's go ahead and slap this thing on one time for the people. Excuse me. Worldwide Movement. Boom. I hope y'all can hear that. Guess what? They won't find a way to stop me. Indigenous guarded carnage, spiritual essence of the whole galaxy and beyond it. Strong with 8 chakras in its earthly presence. Rebirth the essence of the true immortal grand masters. Source lessons, open portals, heal the DNA strands faster. Bring you back from the soulless ignorance and disaster. Not before nor after. Smash the ore. Coming out with steel, that's my city. That's my city. Come on, holler at me. Keep the feel of the power of the throne with me. Come on, get me like I got you. I want your sides and your front and your back. It's the feel of people's consciousness rising. It's the fear in the people's eyes when we linking up and start enterprising. Your demise is right here, and it's time we all prove it. It's the worldwide movement. Yeah. Time to get your shit right. When they choose it, it's the worldwide movement. I'll be closer to your heart than the pictures on your tattoos. In the lyrics and the artists and the tracks too. They set the meter straight to low vibe. They used the hype to pull a snow job on your tribe. But right here it just don't slide. No sir, not here, not on my watch. So my words resonate on every single block. For my G's and dogs, salam to all my ox. We never falling back, we never gon' drop. Power to the people until the evil stops. Now tell me, what happens if we get just 10% of the world's population mobilized against the agenda of the socially, economically elite? Well, that's about 800 million folks. It's the fear why people's consciousness rising. It's the fear in the people's eyes when we linking up and start enterprising. Your demise is right here in this town. It's the worldwide movement. It's the chime on the clock when it struck midnight. Told the world governments time to get your shit right. Ignite strength of the people, total freedom when they choose it. It's the worldwide movement. Woo! Let's go. All right, man. Feeling magnificent, true indeed. Thank you all for being here with me yet again. Brother Michael Washington, what's good, my family? Thank you, yes again, brother. No doubt, Alicia in there somewhere. What's up, cuz? True indeed, everybody. Thank you, man. Thank you all. Moving right along and what has been, and I must thank you all for a magnificent season number 2 for the podcast Building with Big King. As we get together and we lay them bricks down, man, we building the foundation for this new paradigm that we like to call, that we like to say exudes peace, love, respect. Yes, indeed. Hey, Leash, what's up, cuz? Word life. Let's get it. Man, that's what I'm talking about, y'all. All right. So we got a magnificent subject yet again, a powerful subject, right? One that I couldn't leave out of season number 2 and leave y'all in the off season without a powerful tool to build with. Huh? All right. So today's subject is controlling your thoughts. Big one, right? Okay. First of all, and this is rhetorical, but haven't we all had thoughts, right? To come, we say it that way too, to just come across our mind, and we be like, what the hell? What did I think that for? What? Nah. Right? And you may have that reaction for yourself, or you may wonder, or you may stop and pause. What the heck? Why did that come into my mind? Why did I think of that? Right? And you quickly void that thought. Least comes in and say, okay, with the subject matter, true indeed. Yeah, man. Yeah. We're gonna be real so that we can truly work on ourselves and truly, right? Not on we ain't fugazi with it. We're gonna truly grasp spiritual maturation and improve ourselves from within externally, right? We make ourselves better and refine what we can offer to the rest of the world. All right. Anybody else that wants to holler and say what's up in the chat, feel free to do so, but not pressured to do so. You could just sit back, observe, and listen however you want to do it. But thank you for being here with us today. Man, so we have all been there, right? Not been there. We on a daily basis, sometimes we can find ourselves experiencing or having thoughts or entertaining thoughts that put that question mark in them. Like, why did I think of that? Like, why did my mind go there? Right? And we really start to question ourselves a little bit because the thought didn't seem right. It didn't seem like something either that we would typically think. I'm trying to get the hat right. Excuse me. But it didn't it wasn't a thought that seemed typical of us, right? Whether we're saying where we are right now or even us in general, right? As a person, you say to yourself, that particular thought I just had was weird as hell. Like why did, or like why, just truly puzzling as to the origin of that thought. Like why would that pop up in my mind? So I want to talk about that a little bit and acknowledge that first of all, we're going to talk about those thoughts and where they may be originating from. And then we're going to talk about a system that tried and tested, right? Not only by myself, but a few others, that has proven to be magnificently effective, right? In doing just that, controlling our thoughts. But before we get to that, let's talk about why we would have thoughts that don't sit right with us, right? Why we would have thoughts that we would say don't resonate with us or not comfortable to us, that don't feel like us, quite frankly, right? Um, so to begin to talk about that, we need to realize that there are two categories that we can separate our thoughts into, right? Uh, and this is what is very interesting, and I don't think many of us have ever really entertained. And certainly, society does not teach us this. Nothing in school teaches or prepares us for this that I can think of. Not much of anything in religion, a little bit teaches or prepares us for this, but there's really just not much acknowledgement of this, other than we all may have said. I know because I've heard just about everybody in my life at one point or another say, "Damn, why did I think of that?" Or why did that thought come into my mind? Or something to that effect. So we can classify our thoughts in two different categories. Number one, the obvious, internally originating thoughts, right? Thoughts that we originate, that we generate from within. All right. And then another surprising category to many, but externally originated thoughts or externally generated thoughts. Okay. Folks, we need to understand that our head is not some. First of all, before we even go into that, what is a thought? Quite literally, right? Because if you observe a human being, you will see what a thought is. If you can observe that in the proper environment or scientific setting. All right. Brother Michael jumps in real quick and see he is about to get yeah, it is. Yeah, we diving in, man. So thoughts are electromagnetic sparks or arcs of communication or information, right? Information transmitted electromagnetically, but will literally flash in the right environment as a spark. Okay. What I mean by that is scientists have done numerable experiments where they have observed the brain's activity in sort of black light settings or artificially created black light settings, almost like x-raying the brain. And of course, they have done all those means of study, x-raying, EKGs, right? A myriad of different ways that your brain has been examined by science. And one of the things gained from that is a very clear image and understanding of what a thought actually is in a human brain. So when observing in those scientifically induced settings, you will observe a human being's brain literally light up with little sparks, right? Or electromagnetic arcs of information that arc literally from one brain cell to the next. Okay? Literally. And you can see it light up. It looks, if we were to enhance it or zoom in, it actually looks almost like a very small lightning bolt. Ooh, ooh, that's powerful alone right there. But that's literally what it looks like. Okay. And we've already expressed that light is the most effective, most efficient means of transmitting information. All right. So, in the human brain, when you have a thought, you have something enacted called synapse. All right. And it shows up in that form when two synapses in the brain share information. You see that electro arc or that spark in a human being's brain. Again, when you observe it in the correct conditions, just watching a human being think, you see it literally light up with these little lightning bolt like flashes of information passing through the synapse system from brain cell to brain cell. Okay? Now, that's what a thought actually like tangibly is. Okay? How is a thought, or how are those thoughts or those sparks generated? Okay? We identified the first origin or the first category of thoughts as internally generated. All right. So, this involves consciousness and intent. There are mundane purposes why you would generate thoughts, i.e., work, right? If you have a goal or a task or an objective to complete, you will yourself create whatever thoughts you need to generate within your system of synapse in order to have the cognitive and the problem solving mechanisms within your thought processes ignite, right? You will identify what your goal is or your objective, and you will create the thought path toward that objective. It is quite similar to if you look at a computer and you look at whatever site you may be on, you can literally look back and see the path of information that the computer took to get to the site that you sought, right? It is very similar to that. So human beings have the ability, the necessity, and the expertise at developing thoughts. We begin developing these thoughts before we're even born into this world. Once you are settling into your physical 3D, 4D corporeal vessel within the womb of your mother, you are beginning, as soon as you get advanced enough in your cells have started to specialize, right, into your different organs, and your brain is beginning to form, you start to use this system and you form thoughts that early on. Okay. This is why talking to a baby, or when people rub the belly and talk to the baby and give whatever nice little messages you want to give to your child, you are indeed being registered by that child, and the child is having thoughts in reaction to the stimulus that you supplied them with. So there's that other aspect. Thoughts are often in the form of a response to a stimulus, right? So already we've identified two different mechanisms or purposes through which we use thought to obtain an objective, right? Either it is you are actually going through some cognitive thought process where you're seeking an objective, a goal, or agenda, or you are in the very basic stimuli response level, okay? All of those are thoughts that you can see, again, if properly observing within the human brain. So those are examples of internally generated thoughts. You purposely and intentionally started putting together thoughts to whatever end you're desiring. All right. even when we're talking about remembering or reminiscing, right? That is an intentional, or actually can be both. You can set out to remember something or to reminisce about a certain thing, right? And you can form your thought path. Remember, I told you it looks just like how a computer gets to from one destination to another. There's a path, right? You can initiate that thought path and begin to work toward that agenda of remembering or reminiscing a certain thing, a certain subject, a memory that you're desiring to re-experience. All right. But also, you can be sent into that process of remembering or reminiscing through the mundane stimulus and response system, right? There can be certain things or certain stimulus that sends you into that remembering or reminiscing mode where you start thought paths that generate that sort of an agenda. All right. All of those are very purposeful um, or response generated thoughts that are easy to recognize and are germane to what we are as human beings. All right. However, when we start to get to those thoughts that puzzle us a bit, those thoughts that cause us to question the thought or ourselves even a little bit, like, why am I thinking this? Why did I begin to experience that thought or processes of thought or that thought path, even, right? Those would fall in the category of externally generated thoughts. That's why they're catching you by surprise to some degree, because you didn't start it, right? You literally did not begin that path. You didn't generate that original thought. It was externally generated. Now, the first thing that's going to pop into many of our minds is, wait a minute, Big King, what are you talking about? How could that happen? Well, let's pause and think about it for a moment. When we have those thoughts, right, in our brains, in our minds, those electromagnetic um, arcs or those little sparks of thought or information transferred, yes, they go from brain cell to brain cell, right, through the synapse system. But do we really think they just end there? No, they do not. Because thoughts, like all things, exist in both particle and wave form simultaneously. All right? Both particle and wave form simultaneously. Don't take my word for any of these things, folks. Look it up. Do your own free thinking, independent research. You will see everything exists in both particle and wave form simultaneously, and is always in some form of vibration. All right. Nothing is ever at rest. It is always in vibration. How frequently it is vibrating gives you your vibrational frequency. All right. Okay. Now, the reason why I said your thoughts don't just stop at whatever brain cell they're transferring to through the synapse system is that, again, as existing in both particle and wave form, what do we know about wave propagation? It does not just stop, right? Waves do not stop until something reverberates them back, right? This is why you can send a wave out into like a body of water and it won't come back to you until it sort of bounces off of something or reverberates back. All right. And another thing about waves is they propagate 360, 360 degrees in all directions. Like if you take a pebble and drop it into a body of water, you'll see the waves propagate outwardly and pretty much evenly in a 360-degree pattern. All right? Okay. The same thing happens with your thoughts. All right? Now, the reason they don't just stop is because your head is not some sort of a lead lined, rubber reinforced container that is specifically designed to stop or reverberate electromagnetic impulses or thoughts in particle and wave form. It's not designed that way. Your skull is, for all intents and purposes, very porous. All right? Even your bone density is sporadically put together on a molecular level. But anyway, we're not going to go to that. The point is that there's nothing stopping your thoughts from continuing to propagate outward. Nothing at all. Okay? So, when you think something, yes, it started with you, you processed it, and you generated it likely most efficiently, completely, and effectively because you are the place of origination. But it doesn't stop there. It continues out into the quantum field. And that even makes sense. This is how we manifest our thoughts, our intentions, literally in electromagnetic communication form, are always extending out to the quantum field, right? And the quantum field is everywhere around us, folks. Don't think you got to travel like a mile into space and hit some barrier that is all of a sudden the quantum field. The quantum field is everywhere, connects everything down to the neutrino level, which is smaller than the atomic level, right? It continues to connect and intertwine everything in existence. Okay? So when a thought is originated here, it propagates outwardly into the quantum field and continues on theoretically until interrupted or reverberated back. Okay. Now, since we know that, then we can see how our thoughts could actually be, or at least potentially be, monitored. Right? If you are thinking and your thoughts are being transmitted outwardly, right, in a 360-degree pattern, then why wouldn't they be able to be picked up any differently than the electromagnetic signals that are picked up through your television and antenna system? And even if you got cable, that's just the glorified antenna system. It truly is, right? So understand this. We've got the two categories, internally generated and externally generated. Okay? And we have the fact that our thoughts, as tangible electromagnetic forms of information transmittance, these thoughts are observable. They're observable. They are. It's just about how can we pick up a radio station? We pick up a radio station because we have the right equipment to do so. It's called a receiver, right? All you need is the correct equipment, and you can do the very same thing with thoughts. Any electromagnetic waves that are propagating from your head can be picked up and can be not only measured, but can be decoded or read, right? Hold on. Don't take, again, never take my word for it. Do your free thinking research. But just think about something in your daily application, your cell phones. Especially anybody that got an iPhone. Not trying to pick on my iPhone users out there, but you need to know what kind of technologies are being employed with the devices that you own. And we talked about this. I remember in training class when I used to work for providing tech support for iOS applications. But anyway, your phones are devices that, just like the receiver that picks up radio waves, have all the necessary equipment to pick up your thoughts, to pick up waveform transmissions from your head. Okay, why are you saying that, Big King? How can you back that up? Think about it, folks. How in the world can your phone measure your circadian rhythms? How can your phone keep track of your thought processes or your rhythmic patterns that are created in your head when you're sleeping, if it's not capable or equipped with sensory equipment within the phone to pick up wave propagations from your head? For that matter, throughout your electromagnetic conduits throughout your spinal system. How could that happen if there was not sensory equipment within the device to be able to computate that? Couldn't, right? And they'll tell you, if you do enough research and investigation, that your phone very much is equipped with that. All right. That's not the only thing, folks. Anything that is a smart device, remember what smart actually is a synonym for: systems, monitoring, and transmissions. Hold on, systems, monitoring, assessment, ratings, and transmission. Excuse me, and tracking. And remember, it's been a while since I broke that down, but that's what SMART is: systems, monitoring, assessment, ratings, and transmission, or tracking. So anything that is smart these days, right, quote unquote smart design, has the necessary sensory equipment to pick up whatever thoughts you're transmitting, whatever electromagnetic wave propagation comes from your head. The sensory equipment is right in that device. All right. So we're still so far talking about receiving. Okay. Here's where we start to get deep. Well, hold on. Before I go there, we already kind of deep. All right. Now that's from a technological stance or standpoint. Okay. Let's look at a natural set of sensory equipment capable of picking up your thoughts. We've all heard of people who exhibit or exude abilities of extrasensory perception, right? I will offer to you folks that there's nothing at all spooky about ESPE. It is very scientific. And it begins with this very technology that I'm expressing and explaining to you now. Lisa jumps in and says, yep, plus the Quora watches all wearable devices. Okay, true indeed. We're going to get back on the technology again. My fault, Lisa. I slept it. But we're going to get back into the technological field again. But right now, naturally, think about the fact that there are people who seem to be naturally sensitive. Remember the sensing equipment? They're naturally sensitive to others' thoughts, which we're all receiving, right? We just aren't all sensitive enough to pick it up and process it. That's really all it is, right? Um, we're talking about people who are, in fact, often they're labeled sensitives. That's what they call a lot of people. That's what the CIA refers to them as. You can look into that, folks. The CIA has worked with people who exhibit extrasensory perception or abilities for decades. There's a plethora, there's a ton of information on how the CIA has used people who they term as sensitives. Okay, ton of research on that. Just go ahead and do it. All right. Now, just as there are people, human beings, who are sensitive to picking up your thoughts or whatever you're transmitting from here outwardly, right? The same, okay, let's see. Is that why everything you think about, something you start seeing ads, you may not even spoke it aloud, but here they come. Yup. That's back on this. That's the technological side. Hold on, cuz we going there in a second. We going back there, right? But naturally, we've already identified that there are people who are sensitive to doing this. But beyond that, did you ever stop and just give a moment's thought about other areas of nature where we see that level of sensitivity, like animals, for example? How often have animals shocked or surprised us with some of the things they do, or how they respond to us, or how they respond or react even to what we're thinking? Think about that. Think about that, y'all. Think about that. Think about how the animals in your life exhibit that form of sensitivity, right? Why do animals just know things? How can you be approaching your house and your dog picks up that you're on the way when you're still 3, 4, 5 blocks away from your house? Think about that. How can cats exhibit so many different ways? And for somebody who's had a cat for over 15 years, so many different ways that they pick up on the emotional states or the mental states of human beings. These animals exhibit sensitivity, right? Which is just them exhibiting usage of that layer of sensitive equipment, right? Naturally. Lisa says, all good. The phones are primary. Yep. Uh-huh. Good question, Lisa. Yeah, yes, it was. We going back to that technological thing because that's deep. That's deep. But anyway, we jumping back in. We jumping back in. All right. But naturally, we need to acknowledge that there is a plethora of examples in nature where we see sensitivity to these things, right? One could even take it to a spiritual level, right? And understand and know that, folks, again, I talked previously in podcasts and videos about the fact that we only pick up a very small percentage of what's actually right there in front of us. What exists on the electromagnetic scale, so to speak, we only perceive 5% or generally less than 5% of, especially when you're talking about what you see with your two eyes. But that also encompasses the totality of your 5 senses. Now, if you go beyond that and start to broach or utilize what folks call your sixth sense, then you're going beyond that set and increasing the percentage past that 5% of what you can perceive. All of this is natural. But if you start to talk about at a spiritual level, which is beyond the 3D, 4D corporeal existence that we perceive, we have to know that our thoughts exist there as well, right? Any of you who are religious or spiritual in that way that you pray, your prayers are those electromagnetic stimulus or thought forms, the transference of information out into the quantum field that the creator, you're sending directly to the creator or God, or however you want to term your higher power, is perfectly fine. You're sending that prayer outwardly and it's received by the creator, right? Okay, pardon me. But the spirit world is that multidimensional realm or area of existence that extends beyond the corporeal 3D, 4D physical existence that we know typically in our daily lives. Okay. So, just as I said, the thoughts don't stop, right? In wave propagation, they continue through the spiritual or multidimensional world as well. Okay. So when you call on your ancestors, when you honor and pay homage to your ancestors, oh, they get it. They hear you. They know. Yes. Okay. They know. So there is that connection as well. All right. And so far, we're still just talking about receiving. Woo. Okay. All right. So we got that. Natural and artificial means of reception. Okay. Now that we understand the level of connectivity, okay, let's think about, well, the same way I generate a thought and I process it with my various levels and mechanisms of sensitivity. Why couldn't something else or someone else generate an electromagnetic transference of information just like my thoughts? And I ain't talking about that whole there. Don't go there. We're talking about your thoughts. Think about that, right? Think about that. There is every opportunity for an artificial or external thought to be created or generated and then transferred electromagnetically to you. Why would we think we couldn't receive it or wouldn't receive it when this doesn't stop any of that wave propagation? It allows for in and out transference of both external and internal thought, thoughts. Let that settle in. All right, for a moment. Now let's go back and revisit the external technology that can send you thoughts. Folks, yes, your phones, right? Yes, any kind of smart technology. Okay. Yes, if we go outside of the artificial and we start to talk about natural sources, yes, those animals extend thoughts to you as well. Those, you as people send thoughts back and forth to each other as well. The other part of existence that we don't normally perceive, or the multidimensional or spiritual world that receives and monitors your thoughts, can send you thoughts as well. Folks, we often perceive that as inspiration. Where do we really think inspiration comes from, folks? Not nowhere. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. Eddie Murphy one time, shout out. Okay, right? So, yeah, you can receive thoughts from a bevy of originations or places or starting points. A thought can be both internal and external, or should I say, or external. Okay. It's getting kind of hectic. It's getting what? Think about that, folks. Woo! So thoughts can be coming from all kind of places. Yeah, that's right, Leash. Huh? The phone sit up there and receive that we thinking about a certain thing or inquisitive about a certain thing, and it's already got an agenda. Huh? Programmed in from its sources. So yeah, you're gonna start to see commercials, right? You're gonna start to see. You ever be on YouTube or anything and start to go? Yeah, now we know there's an algorithm, right? But how many times have you just been There's been times I've been walking down the street and thinking about a certain thing, and I'll hear my phone go click or make a little noise, or I pick it up and look, and the thought, whatever I'm thinking about, is on the phone. Yeah, yeah. So that level of sensitivity is well been established within a bevy of technological devices that surround us. Think about that. So, just as all of these devices have the companies that have created them, the companies that license and use them, or the companies that send us information through them, right? So, like T-Mobile might not be the um, producer of the actual phone, the Kyocera phone or whatever it is, but they are the middleman for the signals that are sent out to you. So if someone from T-Mobile had an agenda that they wanted to send out through the phones, the system's right there, or iPhones, whatever, Apple, whoever, it's all right there. Okay, is I think it's starting to sink in, folks. Our brains or our minds, so to speak. What your mind really is just sort of your mailbox, right? In the what is referred to as the fourth dimensional mind field. There's an entire field where things exist in thought form, and your mind, or your part of the all mind, is like an address in that field that is germane to you, right? Um, yeah, man. Think about it. Think about it. So you can receive thoughts the same way you transmit thoughts. Okay. Vin Rock, what's up, bro? Yeah, signals can be sent from anyone. Yes, they can. That's what I'm getting at. Your brain or your mind or your head is literally an information highway with thoughts in and out all day long. Some are your thoughts, some are externally generated. Most of your thoughts, they're more predominant, but there are certainly plenty of externally generated thoughts. Okay? Now, thanks, Vin. Man, just real quick, shout out to everybody. I love y'all, man. Y'all be in here keeping it 100. Thank y'all so much. Truly, I appreciate you. Just have to get on that frequency. Right. That is absolutely right. I'll even go as far as to say that now we have come to understand that many of the things that we thought to be spooky, right? Things that like different spiritual technologies or different um, I'm trying to esoteric arts or sciences, right? Even what we might label as witchcraft or voodoo or hoodoo, right? Think fall into that category. There are many ways in which you can get on that frequency or someone's frequency and send something directly to them, straight to them. Bing, right? Especially when they have no idea that this system even exists. They're using it all the time, right? But they're sort of blind to the fact that they're actually using it. It's almost like your heart is beating all day long, but how often do you actually sit there and go heart beat, 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 beat? It's not. It's always on the automatic, what we call innate system, which is part of your body's smart system. But that's a little bit of another conversation. Oh, we talked about the innate before. All right. Now, all of that is true, folks. And again, do your own free thinking research on that. But let's just, for the conversation, keep a track that, boom, we have two different categories, external and internal generated thoughts. We have the fact that your heads are not some insulated container for your thoughts that keep everything within you, but rather an information highway with thoughts, emotions, and expressions constantly passing in and out. Alicia's subliminal messages been around since the 90s. Subliminal messages are most certainly real, but at least I'm gonna have to tell you that subliminal messages have been utilized on a corporate level even since the 50s. Look into the Brunswick TV. Okay. Look into some of the research that's been done and even patented, going way back that far, literally since the 50s, y'all. And they started kind of developing those technologies in the 40s. Now, here's where a lot of this stuff aligns with the retro engineered technologies that they have developed from UFO, UAP, or craft that they have found of otherworldly origin. Either the craft have crashed or some reason of their own come down on the planet, or they have actually taken the crafts down. Just so that you know, your government, the shadow element of it, but your government has had the ability to take down these UFOs using what's called scalar technology for decades, about 45, 50 years. That's what's going on. And just so you know, folks, there's a whole nother wave of hearings on that happening right now, or may have concluded. I'm not sure when the conclusion is scheduled to have taken place in Congress this year. Not the first one. I'm not talking about that first wave of hearings. There's a new wave of hearings where they're talking about all this. So disclosure is moving forward rapidly. And all of this is actually a subset of that conversation, but we'll leave that where it's at. But yes, there has existed for a long time technologies or means to send you subliminal messages. There's a guy who has patented on quote unquote mind control called Hendrik. His name is Hendrik G. Loos, Loos. Interesting how close it is to Loosh, which is the form of, which is Loosh, the form of low vibrational frequency energy that is fed upon by archonic forces. But that's another conversation again. All right. All they need is access. Yes, but access is already there. Access is already there, folks. That's why they're able to do so much of this without us realizing it. They can easily sit because we open ourselves up all the time. First of all, anytime you're using these devices, you're attuning your electromagnetic frequency to a certain degree with the device. So there's access right there, right? Anytime you are within range of the field of any of these devices, and this could go as much as like a smart refrigerator, even. If you are within that field, then that refrigerator can pick up your electromagnetic transmissions from your brain, process them, and utilize them however the technology is set to do so. Yeah, right? Something we don't think about. We got all this smart technology in our lives. We got smart refrigerators, we got robot, smart sweepers, vacuums, sweep our house, clean it up. Oh, it's all cute. Oh, it's so nice. Okay, yeah, that's cool. It's convenient. Just know, just know what technology is there. All right. And then also, so we see very clearly, we've established, folks, that technology has the means. There is very well the means for a myriad of technologies to both receive receive your thoughts and transmit thoughts or messages to you directly on a subliminal level. Okay? That's what we got. Then there's the other side of it. We talked about natural means in which this is done. We talked about animals. We talked about people being able to do this to and from one another. We even talked about extra, right? Extra sensory or beyond our five senses. We even talked about multidimensional or the spiritual world, right? All of which this modality is shared. The thoughts are passed back and forth readily like an information highway. Okay? That's the reality of it. Now, we have talked a little bit and identified the quote unquote archonic forces. Okay? We talk about the old new paradigm all the time, folks. Well, why do any paradigms exist? Because there have been a group of individuals, the socially economic elite of this planet. That's not a new thing. We're talking about groupings of people, small groupings of people, and relative to the population that have existed for thousands of years on the planet and have had a manipulative hand in orchestrating our society and our civilization in general throughout all of that time. Okay? Those folks have held an agenda that has spawned a paradigm through which we live. Now, a big part of the way that they have maintained that is through utilizing this system. They have readily sent you through a myriad of means, thoughts, messages, subliminal stimuli to which you have supplied the response, the adherence to, or the complying with, right? These thoughts or suggestions from all these different sources. Okay. Partner of mine, friend of mine, well, not only that, he did years ago, but I just recently saw Roderick Martin. Roderick Martin did an excellent piece where he showed in detail the marketing strategies deployed and used by Pepsi. Oh my goodness, you have absolutely no idea how they use gematria and which is ancient or sacred or ancient geometry. They use so many different esoteric things like astrology and astronomy um, in their signage, in their messaging, different ways to manipulate your thoughts. Folks, when you see these companies who have literally sold beyond our capacity, we can't even like really encompass a valid thought of how much Pepsi sales there have been since Pepsi first opened up. And there's plenty of other companies like that, like McDonald's. They brag about it all the time. Billions and billions served. Literally, they have served billions of billions, and they've used similar methods that companies like Pepsi have used. And I'm not saying anything that these companies would want to come down on me or sue me for. They don't hide these tactics. You can research them, folks. Most of us just don't. And that's that, right? But nonetheless, these are all strategies and tactics that are used. Okay. Um, but getting back to the socially economic elite, and we know that most of them move and operate within what we call secret societies, and that these secret societies, most of them, particularly the Masonic organizations, refer to and identify hidden masters. This is not me saying it. This is within their doctrine. All right. They refer to the hidden masters, which many of us liken to or identify as the archonic unseen forces that have had a hand in human evolution and civilization on the planet. Okay. All right. We talked about how they use all of this to manipulate and maintain their paradigm, right? They use all of these techniques and uh, methods or methods very thoroughly, right? With widespread usage and propagation. They just, it's all throughout our lives. We walk outside, we see a billboard. We turn on TV, we see a commercial. We go to YouTube or some social media and we see ads and things that prompt and prod us from there. Everywhere in our lives is these forms of communication that we often take for granted, not thinking about the fact that there is two-way communication going on in and out of our minds and brains, right? It is that deep, folks. This is real, sincere, and it is a whole area of study that we could spend years upon. But for us and our purposes, us having these conversations opens us up at least to being more capable of responsibly utilizing these systems, right? For both internal and external thought or purposes. Okay. All right. This is magnificent, y'all. I just gotta say, man, I'm excited. And you all helped to spur that on. All right. Now, the last part of the conversation. How do we control this? What I've done is set up a system that would look a lot like if we were to write it out or structure it on paper or on some computer setting. It would look a lot like an email system. Think about this for a second, folks. Most of us know and are pretty proficient with some form of an email system, right? We know that messages come into our inbox all the time, right? Often from external sources, right? That always we've got information in and out of our email. There may be information that we come in, we label it as corrupted or bad files in some form or letter or another, and we exit it or delete it right from within our inbox, right? We just delete it all the way out of our system once we have identified it to be either malicious or in some way harmful or even just not useful to us in thought form. All right. Carrie says truth, Alicia, right. We all on the same page, folks, right? So we have to know and understand this and set up what we could term as or look at as our own email system. Instead, although you're not using obviously emails, we're just creating a sort of thought system, right? Through which we can coordinate all these modalities and we can begin to see external and internally generated thoughts organized and processed in an efficient manner, right? Where we're talking about in our brains or in our minds, we are actually talking about the processing of thoughts as electromagnetic communication that are either internally or externally generated and then shared through that information highway system, right? You will always have both internally and externally generated thoughts. But if we set up an efficient system that very much resembles an email system, you can flag thoughts that you would determine to not be internally created. In other words, thoughts that are external in their generation and that you didn't generate internally. Now, why is that important? Because when we can readily identify the generation point or how a thought is generated in our mind, right? And we identify, in fact, whether or not a thought is generated when within us or externally, now we can begin to label these thoughts or flag these thoughts within our smart system or our email system, right? And I'm just talking about developing that sort of a system for our thoughts. Okay? Yeah, man. We can set up the framework for what essentially is an email system that we operate by identifying internally and externally generated thoughts. Now, how can we make the determination between the two? And that must be based on resonance. Okay? Electromagnetic frequency resonance. So things in our lifetimes, our physical 3D, 4D corporeal lifetimes, resonate within a certain vibrational frequency threshold, either down as low as this my vibrational frequency or as high as this vibrational frequency, but there's a threshold that they can reach and a sort of zone or resonation in between the lower and the higher vibrational frequencies. Stay with me, right? I know you are. All of you. You're Mac. I said, salute to all of you. True indeed. Send a quick 100 out there to y'all, man. Y'all are magnificent. Just so you know, I thank you. This is so stimulating and magnificent. Thank you all. All right, again, we have to know and understand that there are internally generated and externally generated thoughts. We need to know and understand that it is up to us whether or not we receive or we reject said thoughts, right? By first identifying or flagging the thoughts and determining what they are, right? Or the agenda associated with them. Um, in that process of flagging or identifying our thoughts as either internal or external in origination or source, quantum physics, yes, indeed, um, we can determine whether or not we want to accept or reject a thought. The same way you would an email that would come into your email system. Folks, I am suggesting to you that you set up your own personal sort of email system within your mind where a thought is flagged and then identified, right, by its vibrational frequency as to whether or not it resonates with you. And if it does not resonate with you, then you simply reject the thought the same way that you would reject an email that is not wanted. Folks, when we go through our inbox, you look and see emails all the time that you don't particularly have use for, care for, or want to have. So what do? You send them right to junk mail. Boop. Or either that or they automatically go to spam. But they're out of your inbox because they don't serve you. They don't resonate with you. So when it is a thought that makes you remember back to the beginning of the conversation, when it is a thought that makes you say, why did I think that? That seems weird. Why would I think something like that? Or damn, hell my mind go there for? Those are those externally generated thoughts that do not resonate with you. That's why your body, your mind, your psyche, your consciousness is automatically flagging them. We've just gotten in the habit of ignoring the flags. That's what we typically do. Because up until now, many of us would never have thought about externally generated thoughts that are not our own, but yet are processed, that are received and processed right in our minds. All right? This is powerful, folks. When you understand this and are able to set up your own system, even if you want to frame it or set it up as some other smart system, to me, an email system was the most efficient, effective, and familiar modality that I could use to set up a system through which I can properly evaluate my thoughts and control them in that way. Because just like you have control, and I mean full control of your inbox, the same you can have for your mind. Full control over your thoughts, over any thoughts, whether they are internally or externally generated. You just need to determine whether or not they resonate with you. And the more you know yourself, the more you can go within yourself and know and understand what resonates with you, the easier it is for you to be able to flag those thoughts. The more quickly you, and I'll tell you from experience, folks, you can get eventually through practice to a point where it's a system that just automatically boom. Same way your email operates, right? You can put parameters in your email. Okay, this kind of email goes straight here, just go straight to spam, whatever. You set it up, same way, and it works just as efficiently. You can control your thoughts completely and totally. It's well within you. And in fact, once you set up your system and become comfortable with using it, it's easy. Folks, we are magnificent creations. Let us not continue to allow ourselves to be anything less than that. All right, I've talked a great deal. Please get back at me. Michael hollers at me real quick and says, change your station. It's a bad signal. Yes, bro. If you want to think of it as your receiver system, all you got to do, slightly tune the dial, right? Slightly tune the dial. You can tune out what you don't want to hear, and you can tune yourself right in to what you do. Now, I'll tell you another thing. Your pineal organ, right? Particularly when we talk about tuning into stations, that is even more so prevalent there, right? Because it's a little bit different. A station is like where your thoughts would originate, right? But the actual processing of the thoughts themselves, I tend to use like that email system. But with the station, at your pineal definitely jumps right in the conversation because your pineal operates like a tuner. You have a natural tuner right in your head. Your pineal organ, when healthy and in full control, can be used to attune your vibrational frequency, can attune your resonant frequency, the frequency that you're resonating in, that threshold that you're resonating in can be tuned broadly or even finely by your pineal organ. If you could see it, you could see your pineal actually vibrating, right? Looks like a little, like this a pine cone attached with a little stem on it, and you can see it vibrating on the stem. Magnificent. Magnificent. And you can control and set your pineal. I recommend folks that you go back and look at my videos on my channel on the pineal organ. I go into deep explanation of what the pineal is. I start to talk about things like pinealocytes and the crystals that are contained within the pineal organ. It's a very, very deep subject, and I have fortunately done some very thorough videos on that because I've done some very thorough research on that, external and internal. So please take advantage of it, right? Please utilize that because I go in on that, and you need that information. It's very helpful. But yes, your pineal is incredibly an incredible tool for you to use to tune yourselves. And coincidentally, what's one of the main, do you believe in coincidence? But what's one of the main things that we find in chemtrails? Environmentalists report calcification agents. What is a calcification agent? It is a chemical or set or group of chemicals that specifically calcifies your pineal organ. See, folks, they know all the same stuff that I'm spewing to you and revealing to you on these podcasts. They know it. When I say they, I mean the same socially economic elite who have been invested in the old paradigm. They know it, and they've been using this stuff for the longest against us. Time for us to empower ourselves and use it for us. Huh? Huh? Yeah. All right. Michael Washington comes back in and says, what about when the signal gets hacked? Well, that's why I love the email system, brother. That's why I love to set it up like that. It's just like when somebody hacks your email. They might get through, might get through your filters, and you be like, now, why didn't that go straight to spam? Right? But you still are able to flag it and recognize it as, you know what? That doesn't resonate with me. Whoop, straight to spam you go, or swoop, straight to the trash you go. Right? I'm telling you, we can set this system up within ourselves so magnificently that when you do it using practice, When you practice enough with it, it becomes a fluid system. You become an expert at using it, and it is ultra efficient. It's magnificent. Um, I can offer you that through experiential testimony, right? Magnificent. Human beings. See, they teach us to sleep on ourselves. They teach us to talk bad about ourselves. They teach us to think and speak about ourselves in terms of limitation instead of the reality, which is that you are magnificent. You are magnificent. And the more you know and understand about yourself, the more magnificent, the more powerful you will become. Empower yourselves and don't let yourself be disenfranchised anymore. Don't let yourself be attuned the way someone else would have it in limitation. Those limitations are false. You are magnificent. Understand and know yourself. What episode is that, cuz? It's actually not in the podcast episodes. You have to comb through my videos. I believe if you just go in the search, go to my YouTube channel, and you know how they got the little search window. Go in the search window and put in there pineal. Don't get real specific. Just put in there pineal. I don't remember the exact name of the video, but if you put in pineal, I believe 2 or 3 of them will pop up, and they're all jam packed with information about your pineal organ. Yep. So just put that right in the search window, cuz. Thank you for asking. Thank you. Yeah, man. This is powerful stuff that we can practically use. And when you apply it, you see the benefit in your life, I would say almost immediately. Because, like I said, all of us, I don't know anyone who at some point has not said, why in the hell did I think of that? Why did that pop in my mind? Why did that come across my mind? Right? You can stop from it being something that you are powerless in, and you can empower yourself through these means and these technologies that you can refine. I call these spiritual and mental technologies. And yes, it goes even back to then. Remember how earlier we were starting to get on some stuff, how people can send you. Remember, we already identified that it can be sent artificially through technologies, but yes, people can send you things. It unfortunately could be malicious in intent or nature, right? But once you have your system set up, whether it's the email system that is likened to what I've done or something similar, whatever you do, just set your system up, right? Whatever you want it to be, make sure you do at least set it up. Yeah, indeed. So when somebody sends something to you, when you have a system like this, all those old modalities go away. Y'all, we got to understand we are in a new time, right? We are on the other side of the millennium shift or flip. And with that, we have new understanding of old things and new things that we can apply that supersede the old ways. Not to say that we shouldn't give honoring and homage to the old ways, but understand you can think outside of that box. Some people, I know a lot of people, especially in the quote unquote Black community, have gone nosedived into witchcraft or voodoo or hoodoo or other different esoteric arts and so forth. And that's fine if that's your choice. I just need you to know and understand that we're not bound by any of that. You're not. You're just simply not. This is a new time in which if you evolve yourself enough, you are simply beyond all of that. So when you have a system set up and in place like this, man, there's nobody anywhere that's going to put a root on you, right? or pop out a voodoo doll on you or anything. They can do all that all they want. But if your system is in place, really what they're doing is reverberating those intentions out into the quantum field, and they're sending it back on themselves. Huh? Did you hear what I just said? When you have systems like this in place, your own set of spiritual technologies, you are beyond any of that. And when people do it to you anyway, or attempt to, what is happening, unbeknownst to them, is they're sending those intentions out to the quantum field still, but instead of it going to the person they want it to and working on them, it reverberates right back to them. Whether it shows up in the form of the karma system or some other way, it's going back to them. So you need to understand that you're not victims to anything or anyone. Oh, no, 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 no. No. Did you hear me? Empower yourselves, folks. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes, understand that. We are magnificent, folks. We got to get out of these boxes that cause us to think of ourselves as victims, right? We have been encapsulated in boxes of victimology through our religion, our education, right? Think about it. Even our history, they always have us go back and settle on slave times. I'm just old ancestor or a product of slavery, and I can only be about as much as they say as I can be. You can be anything. Get that BS out of here. You are not limited by anything at all, not even a little bit. Really, I mean that in its totality, not even a little bit. You do not have limits unless you impose them on yourself. Because when you understand who and what you are and how magnificent your very creation is, and start to apply that to your life actively, you're far beyond any of that. You're not a victim to anything. You begin to manifest fully and in complete control your own reality. Huh? Did you hear that? Empower yourself. You control your own reality. Indeed. Man. We're magnificent, folks. We have no limits. We have no weakness. We are, for those of us who used to watch the martial arts flicks back in the day, the 5 deadly venoms. Remember the toad? I have no weak point. That's you. That's you. You have no weaknesses. Just don't accept any. Huh? Don't accept any. All right. Vin Rock jumps back in and says, that was me. Aha, that was all of us, brother, on some level or another. But now we know, and they can't stop us. And yes, folks, know and understand that it is entirely the agenda of the socially economic elite to stop you and everyone in our society from what's happening. What is happening on the planet now is an individual and collective awakening into all of this. And more every single day, millions and millions more people by the droves, folks, are awakening to these higher levels of consciousness. And in doing so, you completely nullify and escape anybody's control over you. You control yourself and you control your thoughts. Huh? You control yourself and you control your thoughts. Remember that. True indeed. True indeed. So this is exactly what what I intended to be, what we intended to be together, is an empowering modality through which we are not subject to anyone or anything but ourselves. Huh? Empower yourself. True indeed. All right, folks, come on back in at me. I'm gonna keep it open for a little bit because I'm absolutely loving the interaction and everything that folks are getting about. If you have anybody has any other comments they want to add, statements they want to make, or questions they want to ask, please dive on in the chat and go ahead and do that, and let's keep it going. This is magnificent. It is. Y'all got me excited. I'm gonna be excited for the rest of the night. Vibing real high, right? Man, listen, folks. Do y'all understand? Are we all taking in? Yes, indeed, Leash. Are we all taking in what is happening on the planet right now? I hope that we are truly grasping this, right? This has been foretold by the indigenous on the planet for millennia. They've been telling us that humanity was eventually going to get to this point. They even been told us that there was going to be a small group or a faction or a portion of humanity, we would identify them as the elites, that would try to stop it and keep us into the old paradigm. All this stuff was foretold. All of it. Look into some of the tellings of the Hopi Indians and any indigenous group, the Mayans, the Tibetan monks, any indigenous group throughout the planet, any of the great African civilizations, any of the civilizations in Central America and right here in North America, ancient North America. Believe me, folks, we are indigenous right here. Right here. This is your land. Another subject, but know it. Yeah, man. This is us. This is us. Thank you, Leash. Thank you, cuz. This is us, y'all. Thanks, Vin. Thank all of y'all, man. Listen, all of you, I send you a big salute. I love you all. You're all magnificent. 100% magnificent. I love you all. Thank you all. Man, telling you. All right. So, thank you, Carrie. Thank you, sis. True indeed. We have to know and understand where we're at, what's going on. That's why I always refer back and say, when you see all these things going on in the world, when you see countries involving and diving in the military conflict, when you see these shadow governments within the actual governments around the world extending their reach and control and manipulating things in a negative, low vibrational frequency way, know that all these things, the chemtrails, the poison in the food and the water, all the different negative, low vibrational frequency agendas laced into social engineering, all of these different things are examples of, the socially economic elite knowing just exactly what I'm telling you they know and have been known. The jig is up. The time is up for their ass. Excuse my language, but I'm telling you, this is real. They are in bad shape. They're not doing all this for nothing, folks. With all the things, think about this for a minute. Okay? With all that's going on in the world, all these military conflicts, all these deep and incredible natural disasters, all the problems, the incredible deep issues here domestically, with all of this stuff going on, why do they constantly focus on what you do or do not have access to in terms of forms of information? Why are they coming up with historic unprecedented censorship laws. Why would they be worrying about what you look or don't look at on TikTok or on YouTube or something? Why are they every time they turn around talking about misinformation? If they just focus on giving you the right information, maybe you might not even be so, huh? But no, they just want to make sure that anytime you're getting right information, they have an opportunity to say, oh, no, 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 that's misinformation. Look out, look out, look out. Come on, you're not babies. You don't need the government to come through with some sort of a protective layer or filtering that says, oh, well, that's okay, but that's a little bit too deep for you, baby. You children, y'all stay over there. We'll protect you. You don't need to learn nothing about that. No, don't look into that. Huh? I'm a grown ass man, folk. Don't tell me what I can. You understand? Don't tell me what I can learn or can't learn. I'm a grown woman. Don't tell me what I can learn or can't learn. That's what we should be saying to ourselves. In fact, we should be questioning, why are you even trying? Why are you wasting time with that when you got all this other stuff that you're supposed to be dealing with? I'll tell you why. Because to them, what you do or don't learn right now in this time is the most important thing to them. Because that's what will determine whether or not you stay in a shell of indoctrination, in a box of limitation that they can control you in, or whether or not you empower yourself to break free and through any of those boxes of limitations and be who and what you are, magnificent and without limitation. That's the truth. Huh? Did you hear me? You are magnificent and without limitation, and they fear that. Empower yourself. Empower yourself. All right. Man, I love it. Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. True indeed. All right. Anybody else have any questions they want to ask? Any comments that they'd like to add or statements they want to make? Please do so. This has been a magnificently fabulous, what's that word I used to use? I don't know. A splendidly fantabulous. Oh yeah, fantabulous, right? Fantastic and fabulous at the same time. We put it a fantabulous day in episode of the powerful podcast that can't be stopped, built with Big King, because you have made it that. Huh? Thank you. Thank you all. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Man, anybody else got anything else that you want to add? Right? A comment you want to add, a statement you want to make, or a question you want to ask? Dive on in the chat and please do so. While you're thinking about that, I'm gonna remind you all once again, please help me get my rumble.com channel at monetization. I'm right there, only 17 more subscribers. That's it. 17 more subscribers. We get that channel monetized, and that's a great form of support for Big King Sadiq and for the platform in general. We're surging powerfully forward and ahead in similar fashion with the YouTube channel. So again, for both of them, anybody that you know or don't know, please tell them to like, share, and subscribe, please. Let's continue to grow in those ways. Anybody who might want to contribute or in some way support the channel, you have also the new Cash App. I put both of those things in the chat earlier. I'm gonna go ahead and throw them up again one more time before we get out here. Rumble.com channel. I thought I was putting it in there. Here we go. Rumble.com channel. Right? Whoops. BKS. Right? All right. And the cash out. All right. Did I do that right? I did. Okay. All right. Man. Otherwise, again, y'all don't know how much this means to me and how grateful I am truly for this podcast and everyone who participates in it each and every week. This is season number 2. Let's just grasp what we've done together, right? First of all, this is season number 2. We had a whole first season that was fantastic, and all of you contributed to that, right? 21 episodes, weekly episodes. So we ran for 21 weeks successfully. You all made that happen. Thank you. Round of applause for yourselves. Thank you. Right? And now we are here, word life. Now we are here in season number 2, and this is episode number 20 of season number 2. We got one episode left before we close out yet another marvelously successful season of the podcast. Thank you all again. A round of applause for everybody. Y'all just don't know how grateful I am, truly, to have accomplished all this together. Thank you for this magnificent forum and everybody's participation in it. So we got one more episode. Everybody, please be here with me next week at 5:55 sharp. We catch that synchronicity. Sister Carrie here with me every week at that time. She be right there, like, baby. That's what, man. Another special shout out to you and to everybody. Get a little more love in here. I love y'all. You're all 100. Man. Magnificent. True indeed. So please join me again next week at 5:55, right? And we're going to have the final episode of season number 2 of Building with Big King. And man, I have ran out of superlatives or magnificent things I can come up with to say. Yeah, I just thank you all. I love you all tremendously. And we ain't stopping here. Next week, we're going to get at it again. True indeed. But man, I thank you all. You're all magnificent. Remember that. If you walk away today with anything, remember and walk away with how magnificent you are. Let it sit and settle on. Let your own magnificence just sort of, settle in on you. Because you are that, indeed. All right, man. If there's nothing further, I'm going to close it out. I thank you all. I'll see you all next week. Thank you for building with Big King, where we're laying down the bricks, man. We're going out here and we're building the foundation for our new high vibrational frequency paradigm, one that we like to say exudes peace, love, respect, indeed. Worldwide movement. Big King Sadiq. I love you all. I thank you all. I see you next week. I'm